There are sports economists who say no on the stadium, but not all of them.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Welcome in on this Thursday evening. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. The PawSox Stadium thing is moving slowly, maybe toward some end. I have no idea. I have no idea what the state treasurer has done here to confuse the issues. I have no idea whether or not we're going to have some kind of a choke job done by the Speaker of the House where he goes, referendum, which most likely will send the PawSox accelerating their visits to other communities, because I doubt they're going to sit around to November of 2018 for a referendum. And I'll explain why a referendum would be in play in a little bit. But we've got a sharp guest here who's authored the Pawtucket Foundation's financial analysis of the stadium, and it's about time we heard from that corner of the world, so we'll still do so tonight. In the meantime, I just wanted to mention that the Warwick City Teachers project has come to a tentative turn here. It looks like we won't have too many teacher sick-outs anymore or parent rallies like we had in Warwick yesterday, all in response to this more than 2-year no contract status in the city of Warwick. These tentative agreements don't always mean locked contracts, but we'll pay attention to this early next week and get all the players involved. Okay, great. In the meantime, let's go a couple of days back and review what the Pawtucket City Council did to resolve on the new stadium proposal.
The Pawtucket City Council calls for a special meeting to discuss the proposal in favor of building a new stadium for the PawSox, a deal that would require the city to borrow $15 million.
The resolution is non-binding, it's not law, but I have heard that the Senate House Finance Committee is looking for a resolution by the Pawtucket City Council so that they can move forward with the bill.
Councilman Timothy Rudd is one of many hoping to find answers to the dozens of questions raised in this much debated topic. He says right now he can't support the resolution.
I think the numbers are changing a lot as how much Pawtucket needs to borrow. Ultimately, my stance has always been if the PawSox or some private entity could backstop the bond that City Pawtucket is taking out, then I would gladly support it. I want to see the PawSox in downtown Pawtucket.
Those in favor of building the new stadium argue the revenue will be worth it. Those against say it's not a price taxpayers should be paying.
It could take up to 10 years for revenue to stream into Pawtucket, and that's a concern of mine because then we would have to backfill that with non-educational aid and then have to put that money back, which is needed for the city of Pawtucket, and we may have to raise taxes.
Listen, I've been bullish on this project from a conceptual point of view from Jump Street, but I will tell you that the financial conversations are getting more and more confusing. Last night, the House Finance Committee had its meeting on this as well, and I'm guessing they didn't generate a whole lot of hoo-ha on it. The author of the Pawtucket Foundation's Ballpark at Slater Mill report is Professor Mark Rosentraub, who is from, you from Michigan?
University of Michigan.
You're a Wolverine?
I'm a Wolverine.
Well,
go blue.
Well, let me tell you this. That stadium is pretty damn old. I mean, you shove 110,000 people in there for a football game. It seems to me you ought to spruce that sucker up, don't you think?
They spent $340 million a few years ago.
Well, for a couple of boxes upstairs? Seemed to me when I look at it. There's still bleachers, though, right?
Absolutely.
My uncle is from Michigan, and he's.
I sit in the bleachers.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
I understand that a Wolverine game is an experience that one must.
It's a
if
bucket
you're a sports
list.
fan, it is on the bucket list, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's at the same level as Fenway Park. You want to do both once in your life.
Wrigley too, right?
Wrigley.
Although I'm watching the game last night, Wrigley. I mean, the field these days on television looks like some kind of park and rec Friday night softball league lighting. I mean, you can hardly even see anybody on the field anymore. But I digress. Great to have you in town.
Thanks.
You're in town to support your paid consultancy to the Pawtucket Foundation and your thoughts about it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me about timing, why you're here, what you're doing, where you've testified, what you plan on doing, all that kind of thing.
Testifying this evening at one of the legislative committees, meeting with a lot of different people, talking to the media.
Is this Senate hearing number 5, or is there a Senate hearing tonight? This is the 6th Senate meeting that we got going on this evening. It's transparently The effort is transparency. I think they're wearing everybody down, to be honest with you.
But it's not uncommon to have multiple hearings.
Sure.
So I mean, people should. You'd like to just have one and get it over with, but this is not unusual that you have multiple.
Well, look, I think the more the merrier. But
Right.
what happens is that when you get a lot of financial cooks in the kitchen and you start throwing all sorts of things into it, what you need is some really smart receptacle for it. And I'm not sure that our Senate or House Finance committees are capable of being that receptacle. You wouldn't have a judgment on that. I'm sure you're not coming into town to tick everybody off. But I'm a little perplexed because our own state treasurer, if you put up the headline just on the state treasurer, he went to a couple of meetings ago and said, hey, listen, you know, I flipped on this. I originally thought it wasn't such a good idea. But you know what? I think it's a good idea now. But actually, the $71 million that you guys are thinking about borrowing is now really $84 million. And so far, I haven't been able to figure out what in the hell he's talking about.
No, I can't comment on that. But I think there's a light that I hope the report sheds on. And there's sort of 4 basic points that have to be made.
Okay.
I mean, so one, the team services a market. The market includes Rhode Island, Massachusetts, parts of Connecticut. The team is not going to leave the market, but where they play matters. If the team is not in Rhode Island, the state loses about $2.2 million a year. That's income taxes and sales taxes.
Right.
If they stay, it's $2.2 million. And so trying to give some light on the conversation is, if the state has to borrow a certain amount of money and you're going to retain $2.2 million, they would actually repay their debt in about 12 to 13 years.
Yeah.
And the team is committed to stay for 30, which means for 17 years after that, you're still getting that revenue. So the state actually is made whole by this partnership financially. Want to underscore the fact that the team, in a very changing market for what fans expect at sports, is committing itself to this particular venue in the city for 30 years. So they're making a large commitment in addition to the money that they're putting up into the project. Then we have the city of Pawtucket. Sport facilities are valuable because they anchor real estate development. Another point, and we make this in the report, this is not a novel idea. This is tested theory. We can go back to big cities, Los Angeles, San Diego. We can look at small cities like Fort Wayne, Indiana. The notion of a sport venue anchoring real estate has been validated by economists. It works.
I want to dig into that concept
Okay.
because it's one of your kind of headline theories in general about urban renewal and all that kind of thing, and I want to talk about that. Is there a fourth quick point that you wanted to make inside this?
And the fourth point is that under various scenarios of what kind of real estate development would take place, 5 to 7, 9-year possibilities, even in the most narrow aspect, there is high confidence that at the end of 9 years, there's enough real estate, new property taxes paid to cover the city's obligation.
Okay, got that. All right, so you're coming in from, 36,000 feet on general urban, suburban, economic, sports involved issues, and then you dig down on this particular project. You're not going to spend a lot of time talking to me about the politics of the state of Rhode Island, I'm guessing.
Correct.
But what's interesting to me on this, and again, I think the PawSox are a jewel that if they roll even 35 miles up the road to Worcester or the like, it's going to be a real sad story, one where I think most people will say we'll forget the details and blame the legislature and whatever leadership on letting them having gone. That's my guess, my projection. I hope it doesn't bear fruit because I hope they stay. But I do find some of the mechanics and the arguments of this thing a waste of time. The $2.2 million, so what? I mean, look, we got an $8.5 billion budget in this state. This notion that we're going to make $2 million is almost a joke. In the context of the economic hit to the state if we lose $2 million, whatever. Conversely, I think it's important to point out, and I don't think the PawSox, the 2020 folks, the Pawtucket Foundation have done a good enough job of this, is to explain that the money generated services the debt plus, which is the
Correct.
point that you just made here.
Right.
And I think the argument ought to be sticking to that because, you know, people aren't stupid. They get that even little Rhode Island has an $8.5 billion budget. And so losing $2 million, it's kind of like, you know, scratching an itch. You follow me?
But when you evaluate these deals, you've got three partners in the deal. You've got the city, you've got the state, you've got the team. You want to make sure that regardless of how big it is and how many zeros you want to put behind it, does each entity get a tangible financial return? I get it. In whatever scale you want to change $2 million to, it gets smaller. But the fundamental question is, the state's putting in X amount of dollars. Will I make money? Am I a good steward of that money for the taxpayers of the state of Rhode Island? Our analysis indicates yes, it would, because that money would be generated if the team is here. And by the way, if the team is here and there's more real estate development and there's more spending at the ballpark because of the fact that they've got more amenities, then the state does better. So the taxpayers are protected.
Okay. We'll talk more about that part of it. The professor's done a lot of study on whether economies actually thrive in urban centers from these kinds of projects. I think that's an important conversation. It has been diminished by the opponents of this. And a couple more key questions. Stay with us.
I'm not going to push for it. You know, this is the mayor of Pawtucket's initiative. I think it's a good thing for Pawtucket. I think it's good economic development for Pawtucket if we could get a deal done that protects the taxpayers. He's worked very hard on it, and you know, we'll see if he continues to go for it.
Now, out of fairness to the governor, that is a couple of sound bites ago in the saga of where the governor has been on this Pawtucket Slater Mill Stadium situation. That was when she was playing chicken with leadership. Now she got a little bit gutsy again and said, you know what, I support the deal because I have something in writing that actually protects the state a little bit more if Pawtucket falls down on this deal. The truth of the matter is that Pawtucket has its own built-in risk-reward formula for a $15 million bond. It's a big city. It's got a $12 million surplus. It's got an excellent administration right now, which is a rare thing for me to say. And so I think everyone's got their panties in a bundle over the Pawtucket side, perhaps unnecessarily. The governor was just playing soft with the politics at the time because the polling data wasn't really high for this project. That's the outside information. The professor comes in from Michigan to say, look, these are the mechanics of this thing. I want to talk about the mechanics, specifically the fiscal stuff, in our next segment. But right now, give me a little bit of a theory on this notion that economies don't thrive with urban ballparks. You cite in a narrative that's on your website, hey, listen, pay attention. There are similar-sized cities that have thrived if you do it in a certain way, right, given this movement of affluence that has gone out of the cities. This is a way to make it back. All right, so you got the floor.
What surprises me with so much success by so many teams at different levels on using the facility to anchor urban development, that people are still asking the age-old question, well, it doesn't really work. Well, I don't know how many more...
Or asserting that it doesn't really work.
Asserting that it doesn't work.
There's no net gain. There's no mood on the economy. You know what? There's no difference between going to the theater on a Friday night and going to the movies. You could put up megaplexes for movies, and that would be just as good an economy. Da, 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 da.
But it doesn't concentrate real estate. There's a lot of... We don't have enough time to go through all the issues of why it is. Let's just look at the fact of how many times it's worked. Even economists who oppose any kind of public support for facilities, or less, less supportive than I would be, have shown that there is a statistical correlation between property values and the location to a sport venue. So this notion that it doesn't work, not only do we have examples, San Diego, Los Angeles, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Fort Wayne, Indiana, now what's going on in Detroit, that it's working. You even have very sophisticated statistical models that have looked at location of a venue and property values. I've looked at
commercial and residential.
Yes. When I look at, I've looked at the performance of these urban districts focused on San Diego during the recession. What happened? So the recession hit Southern California, property values dropped. After the recession and the recovery of the economy, the ballpark district in San Diego did better than any of the other zip codes outside of those that are located on the waterfront.
San Diego's a bigger market.
again, it's always a question of zeros, but the theory has been established. They say, hey, tell me, all right, San Diego's too big. How about Fort Wayne, Indiana? It's working. It worked there.
Columbus, Charlotte, more Columbus is closer to the market size here.
Right, Columbus, it's where. And so what gets frustrating when you have this debate is if you want to oppose it for any number of reasons, fine. But let's not try to change the research that's out there. We know the theory works. Now, if you build it and hope development comes, well, that's a lot less success. But let's get back to the roots of this plan. One, we have an igniter project of 50,000 square feet that will be done at the same time that the ballpark's being built. We have land that can support a significant amount of residential development. We only focused on 150 units, and we even made a number of other conservative assumptions. Under different market assumptions, 5, 7, and 9 years, even at 9 years out, it generates enough new property taxes to pay the $900,000 bond.
Here's the thing that people are worried about. Even the key developer in the Pawtucket thing is saying that it might take the 9 years. And what do you do to front fill the actual debt service that Pawtucket has on its own part of the nut?
We get that to financial issue, but I want to point out the fact that even at the 9 years, and if a developer thinks 9 or we think 9, and 9 is what happens, that means for the next 21 years, you're going to have, as I would say, revenue over expense. There will be a financial bridge that has to be built because there'll be some payments that'll come before that point. But in a reasonable risk assessment, and I want to say reasonable risk assessment, 9 years, you're cash positive.
So that's an internal challenge for the politicians in Pawtucket to determine whether or not they can survive the debt service on a $15 million nut early on, the front loading of that whole thing. And that's where some of the opposition voting comes in because of priorities. I mean, Pawtucket's not a rich city.
And one of the points I can assure people is we actually had a discussion with the city of Pawtucket and their financial leadership about, let's suppose that happened. Could you handle it? And their response is absolutely they could. So under as I said, reasonable risk assessments, you've got 21 years of revenue over expense.
Okay. So you got to read the report from which we will link on foxprovidence.com from the Pawtucket Foundation. I mean, I got a copy here, but I don't think you can read it from here. Then there's the argument that a lot of you have, which is, you know what, these are a bunch of rich fat cats, and you know what, they could do the whole doggone thing themselves, so why are we involved in this conversation? Talk to the professor, get his thought on that when we come back. Stay with us. Well, it's a pretty picture, and I must tell you that I have, and that's not. Okay, so let's just call it what it is. The Apex building is not a pretty thing as we drive by, and I'll tell you, all one has to do is just imagine for a minute. And I think the commercial that the 2020 folks have put together has done a pretty good job, other than this assertion that the thing won't cost the taxpayers a dime. I criticized that. I talked to Mayor Grevian about that. He changed the radio version of it. The TV version may not have been changed via production problems, but asserting that it won't cost taxpayers a dime is, you know what? The taxpayers, anytime they shoulder a burden of debt, it costs a dime. Now the question is, so when you buy a house, it costs a dime. The question is, can you afford to buy the house, and do you have the revenue to supply the to service the financing? And I do believe that all indications are this is not a speculative business. This is a business that has done pretty well here so far. And you know, people are not zombies in New England. If there's a new stadium, they will come. There's no question about that. And if you visualize and I say this with love, the armpit of Rhode Island as 95 comes in, and all of a sudden, rather than it being Apex, it's a beautiful lit stadium, and the excitement of that. I think some of the underlying politics of this are that Pawtucket might end up in a decade being a whole hotter place than the provinces, and that might be some of the malaise that goes on from the political world.
It will jumpstart the river development, which, to be honest, has languished. It'll deal with Division Street, that's languished. And one can see some scenarios. Plus, you're going to have a whole new public park that connects surrounds the ballpark and connects into the river.
Right.
These are going to be new assets that simply won't exist without this element.
Yeah, all makes sense. So guess what? The net worth of these guys is a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
They could do this if they wanted to, by themselves.
When we approach these problems, because that issue is always raised, you want to make sure that each partner has risk and each partner has a significant chance to have revenue over expense. The team is making a commitment to stay here for 30 years. The sports business, like the media business, like every other business, is changing dramatically. They're taking a large risk that for the next 30 years, fans will continue to consume baseball in the way in which they're going to produce the facility. That's a risk. And they're not saying to you, I'll stay for 10 years. They're not saying, I'll stay for 20. They're going to go to 2050. Well, that is a tremendous, in a very dynamic changing
and all
economy.
those lease agreements and transactional agreements have got to have no outs. I mean, that's, you know, and it'll be interesting. I think a lot of the devil's in the details. See, that what you've orated here, I think, makes perfect sense. We got to make sure that, you know, the minutia, the language, you know, reflects that truth. And I believe that the PawSox are a good faith organization that will subscribe to whatever hard language requires. But here's the thing.
Okay.
Those, you know, maybe I'm answering the question that I offered you, which is that, you know, rich people don't get rich without using other people's money every once in a while. And the comparables in the International League for this particular this formula seem to be more of a team burden than any other marketplace. Is that true?
I prefer not to get into that issue because I want to come back to the central point, which is if this was a situation where there was highly, highly speculative investments by the public sector, if the state of Rhode Island saw no path to getting its money back, if Pawtucket saw no path to a return, a partnership is just that. This is a limited partnership between the team, the city, and the state. Each takes risk, but actually, the state has the least, the city is next, the team has the most. They're locked into this facility for 30 years. If baseball consumption changes, and it's changing dramatically now, no one ever foresaw fantasy sports and what that would do. We have a new competitor coming in for the younger generation, esports.
Yeah, but listen, if baseball goes south, everybody loses. Everybody loses.
And
we got a white elephant in Pawtucket.
So the team is taking risk. The private sector has got its coverage by saying we're only going to put this amount because what, to your point, they have to reserve money in case it goes south.
We got to speed up the game a little bit. That might go. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the game itself.
Okay.
I mean, for God's sake, you know, 4.5 hour games are. Although I think on the international level, it's probably a little bit quicker.
Much less.
All right. We shall read your reports. There's another hearing tonight, and we'll see what the politics are. And the politics that our fine guest does not want to get into are really at the whole thing, folks. And we'll continue to follow it on the radio as well on WPRO. Final word and we can goodbye, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, hey, listen, you know, the real crux of this PawSox thing is going to be whether or not the financing moves to a more heavily burdened state responsibility, because if that happens, we're not going to pass a moral obligation bond, which means that we'd have to have a referendum, which means this thing is done, because they're not going to stick around for a referendum. That's the political and business reality of this whole thing, so as you're watching these hearings, keep that in mind. Alrighty, see you on the radio tomorrow at 3 on WPRO and right back here tomorrow night. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.